Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityurma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness unto light. Lead us from death unto immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Good morning. And it's so wonderful to be back and to see all of you this lovely morning in sunny California. In Santa Barbara, day before yesterday, one of the nuns said to me, "So Swami, have you learned the real meaning of the word envy?" You know, when you look at the weather in New York and the weather here. Well, thanks to the wonders of modern technology, I am actually speaking on both coasts today. I'm speaking in New York and here in Hollywood. And also thanks to the time difference, I was just informed that apparently I gave a very good talk in New York. They played one of my recordings in New York. I just heard from them that I gave a good talk there, and the devotees are all having food right now. So that went well. This morning, we have a lot of classical Vedanta in store for us. Surprise, surprise, yes. The greatest of all questions. You know, there's a book, Why Does the Universe Exist? You might think that's a big topic for one book. Jim Holt, very beautiful book. I really recommend it if you want a very profound survey of different fields of human inquiry, from science to philosophy to literature to mathematics to religion. Why does the universe exist? Jim Holt. So that's the greatest question that we can ask. And yet there is a question even greater than that. Look at the question, why does the universe exist? We can go one further, deeper, more profound. What is existence itself? What is existence? What does it mean to exist? What is existence itself? And that question is the central question of Advaita Vedanta. You see, whenever we inquire about Brahman, the ultimate reality, usually, and I have done it often from this very platform, we talk about it in terms of pure consciousness. Swami Vivekananda said, Brahman is not that it exists, it is existence itself. Not that it is knowledge, not that it knows something, it is knowledge itself. Not that Brahman is happy, it is happiness itself. So that consciousness itself, knowledge itself, pure consciousness, that's the angle that often I have myself taken, whether it is the classes on Drigdrishya Vivek or Aparokshanubhuti. Often you will see, not the body, not the mind, I am the witness, by which we are trying to arrive at the pure consciousness, which witnesses the activities, the happenings in the body, mind, and the universe. But there is another way of looking at Brahman, which I have not done yet, and I propose to do this morning, which is actually an even more profound way of looking at Brahman, the ultimate reality. That is to take the approach through existence. Astitva, existence. You see, there is an advantage here. When you talk about consciousness, really, the only consciousness that we are ever we experience or we are aware of is the awareness within ourselves, is the consciousness within ourselves. What we experience in our own minds, in our own thoughts and experiences. You might say that, but I experience consciousness everywhere. There are so many people who are conscious here. Well, we experience the bodies. We see that there are so many bodies. We hear their speech. We see their actions. But are we directly aware of the consciousness within them? We are not. We are only aware of consciousness within ourselves. Think about it. Phenomenologically, in your experience, where do you experience awareness, consciousness, intelligence? Within yourself only. Everywhere else, this universe is an object of that awareness which you are. But So when you talk about consciousness, you experience it within yourself. So when it says that Brahman is all pervasive, everything is Brahman, it's a bit difficult to say that everything is pure consciousness. It's nice, it's cool to say that, but you'll have to work really hard to understand what that means. What does it mean to say this piece of paper is consciousness? It's difficult to understand. But here is the great advantage of looking at Brahman as pure existence, as pure being. Because we experience existence everywhere. Is it not? Paper exists. Of course it does. This lectern, this stage, all of us, we all exist. This entire universe out there, the Pacific Ocean, the dogs and cats and whales and dolphins, the stars and moons, all of them exist. Existence, being, is felt everywhere. What we normally do is, we think that things exist. So the glass exists, the paper exists, this body exists, and all of this, these are things which exist. What Advaita Vedanta does is reverse this. Instead of saying that things exist, they say that, why not look at it this way? There is an ocean of existence all around us. And all that we consider existing things are waves in that ocean. Look at this entire universe of your experience as an ocean of existence. Not theoretical, not abstract, not philosophical. Actually, just see, we are experiencing existence all the time. And think of it not as things having existence, but existence appearing as things. Think of the ocean as not as waves with water in them, but as water appearing as waves. Isn't it more logical to think of the Pacific Ocean out there as a mass of water which breaks out into waves and surf and bubbles occasionally? But it's a mass of water. It's not waves with water in them. It's more logical to think of water with waves in them. In the same way, can we think of everything that we experience as an infinite ocean of existence with names and forms? Here is existence with the name and form of a man, of a woman, of a hall, of space, of earth, of fire and water and air. The elements of this universe, they're all names and forms and functions. The substance, the stuff is pure being, existence. It's a strange way of looking at this universe. It's strange only because we are not used to it. We do not normally think about it that way. In fact, in recent times, the only philosopher in the Western world who has done that is Heidegger, Martin Heidegger, who speaks about being and the things in the world which are occasions of being. But pure being is the ultimate reality. And he speaks about that in a different way, not exactly like Vedanta. But there are books which have compared non-dual Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta, with Heidegger's thought. I've come across at least 2 books. So, an infinite ocean of existence. Not just physical things, mental also. When we experience inside, thoughts, feelings, emotions, they all exist. They are a kind of subtle existence, mental, subtle existence. Ideas, emotions, thoughts, they exist. You experience them as existing. When I think 2 + 2, 4, it's a thought. But definitely it exists, or at least it did for a while. At least it did for a flash, an instant. So existence appears as the things of the universe. Gross, physical out there, subtle, ideas. Numbers exist. Mathematicians will insist that the numbers, mathematical entities that they deal with in pure mathematics, they have a kind of Platonic existence. Even fictional characters, they exist. Ask any child. For a little boy, Harry Potter is as real as you are probably, or maybe even more. So we have some kind of existence everywhere. Now, according to Advaita Vedanta, Brahman is existence itself. This pure existence upon which we superimpose this myriad names and forms, rising and playing with each other and falling back into existence again. That pure existence is Brahman. And that pure existence, you are. In the Chandogya Upanishad, the master tells the student, Tat Tvam Asi. This pure existence you are. In the Ashtavakra Sanghita, we find, Mai Ananta Maham Bodha. In me, the infinite ocean. In me, the infinite ocean of existence. This says, Mai Ananta Maham Bodha. Ascharyam Jiva Vichaya. All these extraordinary beings called living beings, they come up as waves. Udyanti, Gnanti, Khelanti, Pravishanti Swabhavata. They are born. They play with each other. They fight with each other. And they again settle back into this ocean of existence, which I am. This particular body and mind is just one wave in this infinite ocean of existence. So today we will deliberate upon Brahman as pure existence. It may seem to be abstract, it may seem to be pure philosophy, and there's nothing wrong with abstraction or pure philosophy. But let me assure you, it is not abstraction. It is what we are experiencing all the time. Anytime it seems to be very, very theoretical, look around you. It's not theory. I'm speaking about the only reality that is. Reality and existence are tautologically one and the same thing. The word used in Vedanta is Sat, pure existence, Sat. There is one sentence in the Chandogya Upanishad which the master tells the student, expresses to the student, which we will look at this morning. Only one sentence. And if you think one sentence for 1 hour, it's too much. Well, my material which I am using is from the Panchadashi. It's a wonderful text on non-dual Vedanta. The entire second chapter is on that one sentence. 108 verses analyzing one sentence. So I'm compressing it a lot to put it before you today. What is that one sentence? Very profound, very beautiful, thrilling. One of Shankaracharya's famous quotations in his extensive commentaries, often he quotes this sentence. What is the sentence? The original language is wonderful. It goes like this. Sadeva somya idamagra asit ekameva dvitiyam. Beautiful. It says, O dear one, addressing the disciple, O my dear child, pure being alone was all this before creation. One alone without a second. Ekam eva advitiyam. One alone without a second. Ekam eva advitiyam. Sadeva somya. Sadeva, pure being. Sat means being. Pure being. Dear child, pure being was all this. All this means this universe before creation. All of this before it came, it was only pure being. One alone without a second. Let's look at this a little closely. What does this one alone without a second mean? It's a very profound sentence which establishes non-duality. The ultimate reality is non-dual. You see, differences in this world are of three types. There are three kinds of differences. In Sanskrit, Swagata Bheda, Sajatiya Bheda, Vijatiya Bheda. Bheda means difference. So difference is of three kinds. What are the three kinds of difference? One is difference between the parts of an entity. Take a cat. A cat has a head and a tail and a belly and legs and of course the whiskers, the cat's whiskers. So it has parts, and those parts, they all belong to the same cat. In the cat, which is an entity, you have different parts, and the parts are different from each other. The legs are not the belly is not the tail is not the head, and none of them are, of course, the cat's whiskers. So the parts of the cat are different from each other, though they belong to the same cat. This is called Swagata Bheda, division within itself, internal differences in any entity. The second kind of difference is the difference between one entity and another. One cat and another cat, two entities of the same type, same species. Sajatiya means of the same species. So two cats. When you see two cats, both of them are cats, but they're different from each other. They are cats, but two different members of the same set, same species. Sajatiya Bheda. And there are, of course, many cats. We are having a couple of days ago, monks and nuns, we have a class here once. and twice a week, and we're sitting together and discussing something, and somebody pointed out, look, in the window there was this big face of a cat looking in like that. And is seriously listening to our discussions. The only cats being cats, when you look at them, it becomes standoffish. It loses all interest and walked away. When we started making a fuss over it, it quietly walked away. So cats, parts of the same set, same species, they're different from each other. And the third kind of difference is vijatiya, as you might guess. Different kinds of things. So a cat and a dog are different. A dog and a dolphin are different. They are different species, different types of things. In philosophy, it is called the type-token distinction. Different tokens of the same type and different types of things. So, distinctions within one entity, distinction between two entities of the same kind, and distinctions between different kinds of entities. These are the three kinds of difference that we find in this universe. Very good. So what? Now apply it to this idea that we have of pure existence. This ocean of existence we find around ourselves. Apply it to pure existence, pure being. Are there these differences? Vedanta insists Brahman, pure existence, Sat, Sat means pure existence, is void of, empty of, devoid of the three kinds of differences. No swagata bheda, no sajatiya bheda, no vijatiya bheda. How so? There are no parts in Brahman. There are no parts in Brahman. You cannot distinguish between the head of Brahman and the feet of Brahman. Somebody said, Swami, you Hindus are always bowing down to the feet of God. So definitely you distinguish between the head of God and the feet of God. Well, you've already imposed the name of Vishnu or Kali or Shiva or something onto pure existence. Then only you can conceive of the head and the arms and the all the deities and images in which you conceive of. They are all superimposed. They are not pure being in themselves. Pure being in itself has no parts. Somebody says, a philosopher raises the question, just a minute, hold on. You said all of this is pure being plus name and form and function. It's pure being plus a man's form and a name and a function. You call it a man. Here is a pure being plus a paper, name and form and function. So what about name and form and function? Are they not parts of it? Here you have pure being and you have a name, paper, and you have a form and a function. So aren't the name and form and function parts of pure being and which you can distinguish between? They are not, for two reasons. One reason is, two reasons, both profound, but the one more obvious and the second one not so obvious. The first thing is, why can we not take names and forms and functions as parts of pure being? Already the language is getting pretty abstract. But just look at your own experience. Here is pure being. And I see pure being as men and women and tables and chairs. So can I not take the name and form of the man or the woman and the table and the chair as parts of pure being, and then we have internal differences? Swagata bheda? You cannot. Why? Number one, because as the sentence said, recall, before all this was created, pure being alone existed. So name and form and function comes after creation. In fact, what is creation in Vedanta? Earth was created and oceans were created, man was created, woman was created. No. Even more fundamental, you go much further back. The creation means projection of names and forms. Nama Rupa. The net of Maya thrown over pure being, thrown over Brahman is this universe. Just as waves break, the ocean breaks out into waves, you have names and forms spread out over pure being, and that is the creation of this universe. So the sentence was before creation, it was pure being alone. And therefore, before creation, no names and forms. Before creation, no names and forms, because creation is the creation of names and forms, the projection of names and forms. So before creation, pure being, there was no names and forms. So you cannot speak of names and forms being parts of pure being. Is that clear? That's the first answer. But that's not the real answer. The real answer is deeper. Names and forms are not part of pure being because names and forms are not real. They are not real. They have no existence of their own. They cannot exist without existence. You see, when you say pure being, Sat, are names and forms parts of Sat? It's like asking, are waves and bubbles parts of water? Think about it. Suppose, if I say that here is a wooden lectern. It has a top and the sides and the bottom. These are the different parts of the lectern, of the podium. Different parts. Here is the sides, here is the top, here is the bottom. They're different sides. Now, if you look at the whole lectern as wood alone, the material out of which it is made, will you say top and the bottom and the sides are parts of the wood? Not really. It's one existence alone. If they are parts, can you show them separately? No. The wood is not at all affected by the parts of this lectern. You see, you cannot count them. From the lectern's point of view, if you look at a table with 4 legs, you count 4 parts of the table, 4 legs, and the top and the bottom, and you've got different parts. You can count it. But from the point of view of the wood out of which the table is made, can you say there's one thing called wood, another part called a leg, another part called a second leg of the table, third leg of the table, fourth leg of the table? They are all parts. If you count the wood, then everything is included in it. You cannot count the wood and the different parts of the table, different legs of the table. Just like when you look at the waves in the ocean, if you take the water in the wave, you can no longer count. Here are 10,000 waves in the Pacific Ocean out there. How many? 10,000. If you take the water in that, can you count the 10,000? You cannot, because the water includes all of that. The moment you take the water, you cannot separately show me 10,000 waves. You cannot. In the same way, when you take pure existence, names and forms are superimposed upon them. Names and forms are appearances in pure existence. They are not parts of pure existence. Let me give you another example which will make it clear. There is a rope. We do not know it's a rope. Classic example, Vedantic example. And somebody says, look, there's a snake. And somebody says, no. There is a garland thrown away from the temple. It's lying there. It's a dry old garland of flowers. And somebody else says, no. It's a crack in the earth which came in the last earthquake. So in a distance, you just see a shape. And it's actually a rope. But 3 people see it in 3 different ways. Somebody sees a snake, somebody sees a garland, somebody sees a crack in the earth. Now will you say the snake and the garland and the crack in the earth are parts of the rope? Of course not. They do not exist. The rope itself is misperceived as a snake or as a garland or as a crack in the earth. In reality, it's a rope only. None of them are there. So there is no snake or garland or crack in the earth which is part of the rope. Names and forms are not part of pure being. Even now, right now, pure being alone has no parts, no internal difference. So swagata bheda, no. The second kind of difference, you're going, yes, what was that? Sajatiya bheda, the difference between one cat and the other cat, between 2 things of the same type, of the same set, of the same species. Can you distinguish between one pure existence and another pure existence? Can you distinguish between pure existence here and the pure existence here? You cannot. The reason is the difference is only in name and form. The difference is not in the pure existence. There is no one pure existence, 2 pure existence, 3rd pure existence, 4th pure existence. All the differences that we see in this universe are created by name and form and function. This is a piece of paper, this is a glass, this is a table. Piece of paper, glass, table are different from each other because the names are different, forms are different, functions are different. But the existence which appears in these forms is one and the same. So as far as existence itself is concerned, being itself is concerned, no difference between one being and another being. no sajatiya bheda. The third kind is even more interesting. You can distinguish between a cat and a dog. Can you distinguish between pure being and what is the only thing which can be different from pure being? Existence and what's the only thing that is other than existence? Non-existence. Non-existence. And you can immediately, yes, I can see people who get it breaking out into smiles. You cannot distinguish between existence and non-existence because non-existence is non-existent. You can distinguish between a cat and a dog because the cat exists and the dog exists and the dolphin exists. They exist, so they can distinguish between them. Difference in species, different kinds of things. But there is no different kind of thing apart from existence. Because is, the very word is, includes existence. The moment you say apart from existence, other than existence, it becomes is not. Existence becomes non-existence. So anything apart from existence does not exist. And hence, there is no difference between existence and there's non-existent. There's no non-existence is not existence. That's all. So, in pure existence, there is no internal difference, swagata bheda. In pure existence, there is no difference of kind, sajatiya bheda. In pure existence, there is no other thing apart from pure existence, vijatiya bheda. In Sanskrit, swagata sajatiya vijatiya bheda rahita, sat, pure existence. Well, good for Sat. What about me? You are that Sat. Tat tvamasi, that thou art. And we'll come to that. We'll actually try to savor it. How am I pure existence? Get an inkling of it a little later. Did you notice the prayer which I started with? Asato ma sadgamaya. You see? Take me, O Lord, take me from the unreal to the real. What is the unreal? Our attention is continually fixed on names and forms and functions. Here is a man, here is a woman, here is rich, here is poor, learned, ignorant, here is the sky, here is the earth. This is all name and form and function. And then our attention is continuously fixed on that. And they are the unreal. How are they unreal? Because they have no existence of their own. Like the snake or the garland or the crack in the earth, they have no existence of their own. They are all projected in pure existence by Maya. Our attention is fixed there and we are praying, Oh Lord, take my attention from the unreal to the real. What is the real? The pure existence all around us. Take my attention from the waves and the surf and the bubbles to the water which is right there. God is right here. Brahman is right here all the time, undeniably. If Brahman as pure existence were not right here, the universe would disappear in a flash. But we will, the question will by now would be, okay, that's great. How do I experience it? How do I get it? Wait, I'll come to that. Before that, we must deal with a couple of other technical issues which have come up. Remember, a lot of philosophical discussions are going on. A lot of philosophical discussions are going on. So, somebody raises a question. Not so fast, Mr. Non-dualist. Look at the sentence which you have just quoted. One alone without a second. And what did you say? Pure being alone existed before all this was created, right? So you are saying existence existed. Sadasit in Sanskrit. Existence existed. Look at the language you are using. You are using two words, which means duality. If you are using two words, you use two words to say the paper exists, because paper is one thing and existence is another thing. So paper is. If you say existence is, pure being existed, then you mean there is something called pure being, a thing. Why not call it God? God existed. Before the creation of the universe, God existed. And that's what we dualists are always saying. Why go into all this fancy non-dualism and pure existence and all that? Forget that. God existed before creation. That's all. But the non-dualist has an answer, as you would expect. He says, this is a figure of speech. This is a figure of speech. In the Panchadashi, he gives 3 examples which work nicely in Sanskrit. I'll tell you the examples he uses, the author of Panchadashi, to explain this. Existence existed. Whatever do you mean by saying existence existed? He says it's just like we use language like, I'll give you a better example later, but first the examples he has given. Language like kartavyam kurute, kartavyam kurute, dharyam dharyate, vakyam brute. What are these sentences? Kartavyam kurute in Sanskrit means the action is done, or literally the doing is done. You're using the same verb. In Sanskrit it's the same verb in twice, but it conveys a clear meaning. The duty is done. That's what it means. But the language is the doing is done. Then you use words like vakyam brute, the speech is spoken. Speaking is speaking. Now you used the same verb twice. Then another one is dharyam dharyate, clothed in clothing. The same word is used twice. It conveys a meaning, but you're just repeating the same thing twice because it's a figure of speech. So existence existed does not mean there are 2 things. There's something called God which existed, not in that sense. It is pure being. The better example is, we often use it in our monastery in India, here also. We often say, he is a good sadhu. Oh, bhalo sadhu. Good sadhu. Sadhu, the word sadhu in Sanskrit and in Indian languages means a good person. So literally if you translate it, you say, he's a good person. It conveys a meaning, but as far as the words are concerned, it's a repetition. So it's a figure of speech. We say, when you say existence existed, we mean exactly that there was pure being. We can't use it because language was not designed for this. Language breaks down. That's why you say it's beyond language. Language was not designed to handle pure existence. Language was designed to handle names and forms. Names, forms, and function. Language functions in a dualistic world. The next question is even more fascinating. The philosopher comes up and asks the dualist, okay, I grant you that, but there's some much more serious problem. Look at what you quoted. The original statement was, before all this was created, pure being alone existed. Which means it existed in the past. Now the universe is there. Which is exactly what we are seeing. God was there and God created the universe. Now it's the universe. Or your pure being, if you look at it that way, that pure being was there before all this was created, and now that pure being is not there, it's all this universe only. That could be another meaning. So before the Big Bang there was a singularity. Now there is no singularity. Now there is this multiplicity, this universe. Isn't this what it means? And he says no. The past tense which is used, idamagra, before all this. What is this? This means earth and water and fire and air and space. The 5 elements. Akasha, Vayu, Agnir, Apa, Prithvi. This entire universe composed of the 5 elements. And we experience it as form, we see. Sound, we hear. Smell, taste, and touch. So the 5 elements experienced through our 5 senses, this is the universe. This is the meaning of the word this. And the original quotation is, before all this, there was pure being. So past tense. And the philosopher asks the question, the dualist asks the question, so in the past, your precious Brahman existed. Good for it. Right now we can dismiss it. Now it's the universe of multiplicity and dualism. And we are dualist philosophers. It's our time now. Your time is long gone. It was there before the Big Bang, non-dualism. And you were not there, so you couldn't have spoken about non-dualism then. So you are irrelevant. It is dualism now. And the non-dualists say that, no. It's not that pure being existed earlier and now it's multiplicity. It's as crazy as saying it was all water, now it's waves. Water is gone. It cannot be. If water went away, there would be no waves. The ocean would disappear. The Pacific Ocean would disappear in an instant if all the water were taken out. You say that earlier the wood existed, now it is all furniture. No, 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 no. Earlier it was gold, now it is ornaments. You have cheated me in that case. If there's no gold in the ornaments, the gold exists right now. You look at the ornaments and your attention is on the ornaments, but the gold is there. And that's what gives existence to the ornaments. That's what gives value to the ornaments. The classic example used in Vedanta of a businessman fallen on hard days who goes to the pawn shop and wants to pawn off his Ganesha, his beautiful golden image of Ganesha. Pawn it off, get some money for his business. So with a heavy heart, he takes his beloved image of Ganesha to the pawn shop owner and says, how much, what's the rate? And the pawn shop owner weighs the Ganesha image and says, I'll give you money at this rate. So much weight of gold, I'll give you this money. Okay. Now you know Ganesha always comes with a mouse. The vehicle, the gods have vehicles, and Ganesha has the not so glamorous vehicle of a mouse. So the mouse is there. The little mouse next to Ganesha's image. And the businessman asks, how much for the mouse? The pawn shop owner says, the rate is the same. And the businessman flies into a rage. In Hindi he says, Kya? Ganesh ji ki jo bhav, juha ka bhi wahi bhav? What? How dare you? Sacrilege. The value of Ganesha and the value of the mouse is the same. Have you no religion, man? And the pawn shop owner says, sir, for you it is Ganesha and a mouse. For me it is gold. I'm looking at the gold. I pay you for the gold. The reality is always the gold. Whether it is Ganesha or the mouse, whether it's waves or surf or bubbles, whether it is man, woman, rich and poor, living and dead, matter and energy, it is existence alone. Vivekananda, in one of his speeches, very in an inspired way, he says, it is first of all that existence, he uses these words, it is that existence, Sat, and then we color it with good and bad. We say it is good and this is bad. It is that existence first. Then we color it with living and non-living men and women and animals and so on and so forth. It is that existence first. Sat, pure existence. So that existence is always there, right now. Even when all these names and forms are there. All of it is nothing other than not one little bit, not 1 ounce more, 1 milliliter more than anything other than pure existence right now. It's only, Vidyaranya points out there in the Panchadashi, it's only because we are used to thinking in terms of time. That's why it is, you have to use tense, present tense, future tense, past tense. Pure existence was before all this appeared. What about now? Pure existence is. If pure existence were not there, everything would disappear. If water is not there, the entire ocean would disappear. So because of time, because of our tendency to think in time, we cannot but think in time. So the language of past tense is used. In fact, a profound point here is when we say Brahman is eternal, it's only because we think of past, present and future. So Brahman is something that lasts in the past, present and future. But actually, Brahman is beyond time. You cannot say Brahman is eternal or non-eternal. But as far as time is concerned, Brahman is eternal. Brahman is all-pervading. When you say Brahman is all-pervading, sarva-vyapi, that's in terms of space. When you accept space, then you have to say Brahman is all-pervading. But in itself, Brahman is neither all-pervading nor non-pervading. It's only when we take space and time into account, then Brahman becomes all-pervading and eternal. But in itself, it's beyond all-pervading and eternal. You cannot say what it is. We say Brahman is there in every object. But it's only when you accept, when you think about objects, people and things, then only you have to say Brahman is in all objects. There is no object apart from Brahman. But in Brahman, there are no objects at all. You cannot even say Brahman is in all objects because objects, rather, it's a better way of saying is all objects are in Brahman and ultimately no object is there. Brahman alone exists. So, it's only because of our dualistic thinking that we have to use past tense. Brahman is eternal Brahman is all pervading, Brahman is in all objects, and so on. There is a beautiful verse at this point, most inspiring. It says, it's only in the terms of duality that we use this language, but what is it in itself? Can you try to express, you cannot do it. Can you try to express Brahman? Sri Ramakrishna said, Brahman is the only thing which has not been defiled. Here is the whole Indian concept of eto. In Bengali, you cannot translate into English. If you touch something with your tongue, if you're eating something, you've already taken it, then you should not offer it to anybody else, because it is supposed to be defiled, in the sense that I can eat it, but I should not offer it to anybody else. So it is defiled by the tongue. The closest approximation I can get to the Bengali word eto, or in many Indian languages, jhuta in Hindi, in Oriya, oita. So it means Brahman, but Brahman is the only thing that has not been defiled by tongue. Sri Ramakrishna is making a play on words there. The only thing that has not been touched by human tongue is Brahman, which means Brahman is the only thing which you cannot speak about. To speak about it, you need space, time, and objects. Desha kala vastu. But Vidyaranya makes the brave attempt to speak about Brahman as it is in itself, without any reference to anything. And the result is this fantastic verse. So I can't resist chanting it before you. Tadastimita gambhiram na tejo na tamastatam anakhyam manabhidyaktam satkinchid avashishyate. Very profound. I mean, it sounds profound also. But what does it mean? Translation. There, in that absolute, what is it? Stimita gambhiram. Absolutely still. Utterly profound. Gambhiram. Absolutely still. Utterly profound. Neither light nor darkness. Anakhyam. Untouched by language. No words can suffice to describe it. Anabhivyaktam, beyond expression. Sat, pure being. Kinchid avashishyate. Only something, it is, that's all we can say. Tadastimita gambhiram, absolutely still, utterly profound. Beyond light and beyond darkness. By which it means beyond the known and beyond the unknown. Anakhyam, beyond words. No language can approach it. Anabhivyaktam, beyond expression. Sat, pure being. Kinchid avashishyate. Something remains then. Okay. Very profound. But can we sort of, little bit of taste? Can we see what it could be like? An exercise is proposed next. The meditation on sky. The closest we get to it, suppose imagine space, vacuum. No earth, no water, no fire, no air, space alone. Space alone. You see, the Upanishads say from that Brahman, pure existence, evolved space and air and fire and water and earth. Or in modern terms, the 150 or more odd elements and atoms and neutrons and protons and quarks and superstrings or whatnot. From pure existence through Maya. Beyond space lies Brahman. Beyond space in the sense, even space is a name, if you can call it a form, is space, this, which enables everything else to exist. But beyond that is Brahman. A dualist philosopher, the Nayayika is a dualist philosopher, asks a question. It's one of the schools of Indian philosophy. They say that, how can you talk about the destruction or dissolution of space, of the non-existence of space? According to them, they have a very simple way of thinking about creation. There is space, infinite space, in which there are free-floating atoms, matter, and that matter and energy combines to form planets and stars and life and all that. That's creation. And after some time, it all falls apart back into free-floating matter and energy. That is destruction. Space is space. That's their idea. And a pretty commonsensical idea, not very difficult to understand. And they say that how can you even think of dissolution of space, of no space at all? And the non-dualist replies, why is it so difficult? You do not experience or see space, yet you can conceive of space. Why don't you go one step further and conceive of existence without the space? You say space is, drop the space, just try to conceive of isness. The dualist immediately protests. I can see space. Yeah, it's out there. I can experience space. Pure existence itself, how can I experience? And the non-dualist says, here is another technical point, because according to the Nyaya philosophy, you cannot actually see space. Seeing, you require form, and according to their own philosophy, space is formless. So you cannot see. So according to the dualist philosophy itself, space cannot be seen technically. So the non-dualist says, in your own philosophy, you say you cannot see space. So why are you now saying that I see space? You do not see space, but you have an inkling, an experience of space. You say space is. Isness is there. Drop the space, focus on the isness. How can you do that? The non-dualist says, this pure isness is actually not out there. Pure being is not out there. It seems to be. All these things exist. Names and forms are spread out there. That pure being is you yourself. You yourself, you the pure being, this being is borrowed by name and form, and you see the universe. So, when you absolutely make your mind quiet, nirmanaska, the word is used, in the absolutely quiet mind, no thoughts, absolutely no thoughts. The witness of that no thought mind is pure being. I'll repeat that again. The witness of that no thought mind is pure being. Try it now. When you say, think of, I have no thought. Just simulate. It's very difficult to have no thoughts at all. But supposing I have no thought at all. Nothing. No world outside, no people outside, no body, no ideas, no memories, no perceptions, no thoughts, no emotions, no Vedanta even, nothing, blank. What watches this nothingness? Yes. The dualist comes forward and says, it's not pure being, it's nothingness, it's just nothing. That's just blankness. Here is an answer. Look at the question. The question is, pure being, is it nothing? The question is, it's nothing, you're just talking about a vacuum, an emptiness. The answer to this objection, you must understand the objection first, then the answer will make sense. The answer to this objection is, pure being is not a vacuum. Because, follow this carefully, for something, for nothingness, for an absence, you need to have a thought to recognize an absence. You see, here is a piece of paper. You see the presence of the piece of paper. It requires a thought. Here is a piece of paper. Now I hide it immediately. You immediately have another thought. The piece of paper is missing. The absence of the piece of paper requires a thought, a cognition. Just as to note the presence of the piece of paper requires a thought or a cognition. The absence of it requires a cognition. So if you say pure being is an absence, that also is a thought. In the absence of all thoughts, how can you even say pure being is an absence? Let me run through that logic again. To note that there is nothing requires a thought. Paper? No paper. I'm putting it across very simply. I attended a workshop once on this Nyaya philosophy, and the subject of that workshop, it was for 15 days, 5 hours a day, and the subject was, believe it or not, nothing. Yes, abhava. Abhava means absence. How can we speak of nothing? And believe me, they did. For 5 hours a day. For 5 hours a day. With the most intricate logic. Navya Nyaya, it's a neologic system of of medieval India. Swami Vivekananda says himself, before the advent of modern logic, That was the most intricate system of logic. We celebrated the birthday of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu last week. He was a Pandit of neologic. You wouldn't think it. Such a person of devotion. But before he became a Krishna Bhakta, he was a Pandit of neologic. Navya Nyaya. Most intricate reasoning about nothing. Swami Vivekananda says, enough to make your head spin. So, you require a cognition to note that something is absent. So there is an absence of all things, you require a cognition. But if the mind is absolutely silent, how will you note that there is an absence? Non-dualist says. The immediate answer would be, if it's not occurred to you, it's definitely occurred to the logicians. They said, got you. If absence requires a cognition, you're saying there is pure being. That also requires a cognition. So there is a thought about pure being also. It's not a complete absence of thoughts there. So you require a thought to understand this is pure being, isn't it? And there the non-dualist, you come to the crux of it. The Advaitin says, everything except Brahman, except pure being, requires a thought, a cognition, pramana, an instrument of knowledge to verify its existence. Pure existence requires no pramana. It is swaprakasha, self-effulgent, self-revealing. You don't require a thought to describe your own existence. Everybody here, if I ask you, with such and such person there, in the talk, you will say yes. If I ask you, how did you know? You'll say, I saw that person. If I ask you, were you there in the talk? You say yes. How did you know? Will you say, I saw myself? No. You will not say, I saw myself. Your own existence, your sense of your own existence doesn't require you seeing yourself. Doesn't require you to go to the attendance sheet and see whether I signed. If I signed, I was there. That's true. No. My own existence is self-revealed. Now, the exercise. Do it this way. Close your eyes and think of just space. Without planets and stars, without light or darkness, just space. Just space. You are not there. No body, no mind, nothing. Just space. Pure space. Just space without any occupying object. Whether it's vast or small, you cannot say. You need at least one or two objects to say whether space is big or small. Just space. Let your mind quieten down. And then, here is the thing. And then, dismiss the space from your mind. Just drop it. Pure space, empty space, drop it. What's there now? No objects, no thoughts, no feelings, no emotions, no ideas, no vacuum even. Drop the vacuum. You can do it later. Vidyaranya says, the witness that exists, which notes the dropping of the vacuum, that's pure existence. It is self-revealed. It does not require anything else to reveal it. There is a variation of this exercise in Kashmir Shaivism, where you sit down and imagine your body. You can see space all around. Close your eyes. Imagine the whole body. Inside, imagine it's full of just space. No flesh, no bloods, no bones, no chemicals, nothing. Empty head. Absolutely, just imagine. It's an exercise in imagination. Just skin, just a thin skin separating the space outside from the space inside. Nothing else except outside vast space, inside also space. Nothing else. After some time, after quite a bit of time, just imagine the skin is also gone. Nothing. What watches? What watches this? Emptiness. That is an inkling of pure being. Questions will come. Oh, it's my mind, you're thinking this, you're imagining this. No. As you quieten down, the dualist asks a question at this point. Look, it sounds nice theoretically, but in experience it's very difficult to grasp. And Vidyaranya snaps back in that very chapter. Why is it difficult to grasp? Either two reasons. One is there's a lack of clarity about what I am saying. If there's lack of clarity, repeat. Study it again and again and again, think about it. Or the second thing is there's lack of concentration. The mind flickers too much. In that case, meditate seriously. Not once, not 2 minutes in the middle of a Vedanta talk. 2 days, 2 months, 2 years, 20 years, 2 decades. Long, long time. Totapuri, Sri Ramakrishna's guru, he said, it took me 30 years. What this young man has done in 3 days, it took me 30 years. But once you have got it, even now, I am quite sure many of us here, if not most of us, if I've done my job properly, you've got an inkling of it. You've got an inkling of it, what is being pointed to. That's the minimum. It's important because it is you yourself. After that, pure being, that absolute stillness, utterly profound, beyond light and darkness. After that comes the mind and intellect and ideas, perceptions, thoughts. After that, sense organs. After that comes the world. But this profound stillness, Meister Eckhart, the German philosopher, Catholic philosopher, he calls it theologian. He calls it the ground of this universe, and he calls it the Godhead. This is God. This is God. All the time available to us, right now, every moment. If you care to access it, it's always available to you. Note it. At this level, you have no problems. That pure being has no problems. All problems are in the world of name and form. As pure being, you have no problems at all. You said, well, that doesn't solve my problems in this day, in my life. Then the problems in the world of name and form are like that snake imagined in the rope. Pure being alone is real. Everything else is a borrowed reality. In Vedanta, borrowed reality, another term for that is mithya. Mithya means false, appearance. Brahma satyam, jagat mithya. Brahman alone is real, and this world is name and form superimposed on Brahman, unreal like the snake in the rope. Hey, but what about me? You are real. You go, thank God. You are Brahman, jiva brahmeva napara. Brahman alone is real. Brahman is reality itself, pure existence. Jagat mithya, world, the samsara is name and form, a superimposition on you, the pure existence. And you are pure existence. You are that immortal pure existence. Where is birth and death? Body. Where is old age and disease? Body. Where is hunger and thirst? The prana, the life forces. Where is desire? Where is anger? Where is frustration? The mind. Where are our little personal histories? This little person, the mind. All of that shines in the pure existence which you are. You are Brahman, Brahman is you. When you say, I am Brahman, remember, then you must disidentify from the body and mind. It's equally important to say, I am Brahman, and to say, I am not the body. Our problem is, we want to be the body plus Brahman. I want to be Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so and also Brahman. It's nice to be. Brahman cannot be an add-on, an extra topping. It is the reality. It is what you are. And all of this, it's still there. Names and forms are still there. After this realization, what will happen? The world will not disappear. It will go on exactly as it is. What will happen? Experience will go on exactly as it is. Vidyaranya says, the world of names and forms keeps on appearing. It will go on in its own way. Sri Ramakrishna comes back from Samadhi, hand is still broken. Hand was broken earlier, hand is still broken. The blind man coming back from this realization will still remain blind. In the world of names and forms, it will still go on. Second, another aspect, all the differences which we erase from Brahman, differences within oneself, swagata bheda, differences between one thing and another thing of its own kind, sajatiya bheda, differences between one kind of thing and another kind of thing, vijatiya bheda, will it still be there? Of course it will be there in appearance. But when Sri Ramakrishna comes back from Samadhi, he knows all of these differences. He knows who is Naren, who is Latu, who is the Kali, the temple, which is the Krishna temple. He knows all the differences. But he also says, all of this is my Divine Mother. All of this is my Divine Mother. It will still continue. But you will enjoy it because you know yourself to be the infinite in which this game is being played. What should you do then? And now also, keep your mind, Vedanta tells us, keep your mind or most of it on the background reality, pure being, Sat, not on the names and forms. Names and forms, not important. Appearance, a magic show to be enjoyed. Don't give too much importance to it. It will disappear. It will come and go and disappear. It's fun. It's you. You are having fun. If you forget the background reality, pure existence, it's fun no longer. The dream becomes a nightmare. You're caught in it. The only time a tragedy is enjoyable, it's only when it's on the big screen in Hollywood. Otherwise, when tragedy and you're part of it, it's not enjoyable at all. It's a nightmare. Keep your eye on that. I remember, I'll end with this monk in the Himalayas who was telling us about it. And a devotee explained to him how an X-ray works. There was some discussion. He didn't know. He was shown an X-ray plate and he was so amazed by it. He said, wonderful, look at this light. Other light is reflected from your skin. This light penetrates through skin and blood and flesh and goes straight to the bone. And he said in Hindi, Mahatma ki drishti vaisi honi chahiye. Your vision, the vision of a monk should be like that, he told us. Monk should, like Superman, X-ray vision. You have a Vedantic vision. Now you've got it. This class is giving you Vedantic vision. See through the names and forms and functions. Notice pure existence everywhere. It's there. It's right there. It's as easy as noticing the wood in this table. As easy as noticing the water in the wave. As easy as noticing gold in the ornament. It's right there staring at you at your face. You just have to notice it. Keep your attention there. He said, O monks, learn to keep your attention there. Not on the fleeting names and forms of this world. The devotee does exactly that. You see, we may think this is all dry philosophy, very difficult. The devotee does exactly that. In all things in life, his or her attention is on God alone. Sri Ramakrishna says, the mind is like a balance. In a shop, in village shops, they have a balance. Whatever you buy is put on one pan and they'll put some weights on the other pan. If this weight is more, the pan will go down on this side. And if this weights on this side are more, the pan will go down on that side. He says, on one side is God and the other side is the world. Too much worldly thinking, the pan goes on that side. And the mind comes off God. Make sure the weight is on the side of God. Think about God, love God, worship, in whatever form you like. If you're not theistically inclined, very good. Be non-theistically, non-dualistically inclined. See the pure existence everywhere. Then the mind goes off the world. What is the world? The network of names and forms, Maya. Name, form and function. And the weight of the pan is on this side. Another example he gives is the village women walking from the well back to their homes. They go in a group to collect water, drinking water from the well. And they have pots, big one, smaller one and smaller one. They'll put one above the other, 3, 4, 5 pots full of water. And they'll walk with each other with the pots balanced on their head. And they talk, they gossip, they exchange news of the families and the gossip of the families, they talk. But the mind is always on the pots. They're so trained, they're careful that the pots don't fall down. They don't shake. Once it's out of balance, it'll all come crashing down. So, in the same way, can you live this world, not be disturbed while dealing with name and form and function, while dealing with husband and wife and children and colleagues, while dealing with prosperity and layoffs and poverty, all of that with disease and body, and keep the mind on pure existence, pure consciousness, pure bliss. Keep the mind there and deal with it. Sri Ramakrishna says this. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.